Good morning and welcome to Zen Fits, Sunday Zen Fits. My little church service. I always wanted to be a minister. These are my sermons. I don't have to get dressed up. So, the title of this fit is we're all doing the two-step. Remember we watched, everybody seems to, I have, watched the Ken Burns country music documentary. And two-step is I think it's a Texas dance two-step, but it's country. And so I've been writing this morning using two-step as a metaphor. So we're not talking about dancing. We're talking about a dance step in which you take one step forward, a dance of life, in which you take one step forward and one step back. So you think you're going somewhere, but you're standing in place. So the idea here is a dance step that we inherit from our parents, from the world, in which every step forward is balanced by a step back. So instead of stepping one step forward, two step going forward, forward, you step one back and one forward and one back. The illusion is that you're going somewhere, but you're standing in place. So what are these two steps? That's what I'm curious about. That's what I've been writing about this morning. And as I unfold, as I dig into this, as I expose through this metaphor, that's what metaphors do for me. They're kind of like handles with which to get hold of my life, kind of like a window in which that has a form through which I can see my whole life. At once, boom, your whole life right there. It's like when you're dancing and there's a dance pattern you're doing and you're in the dance. So you really can't see the pattern when you're dancing. So you get a coach or you get somebody who's standing on the side of the dance floor, and they can look at your pattern and they can say, oh, your pattern's a little off, So they see your whole life. But when you're living, when you're in it, you're just seeing the step you're doing. So you can't see the pattern when you're in the dance unless you awaken, unless there's a shift, which is Zen. That's why a Zen fit is when there is a shift and suddenly, while you are dancing, you see your whole pattern. Now you just may see the smaller pattern, and as you get more wisdom, as you get more Zen, you may see your whole life. I know people say, well, I almost died and I saw my whole life before me. So when it's like, this is a very common, when you die, you see your whole life. Well, why wait until you're dead? Why wait until you're dead in order to go to heaven? Why wait until you die before you see your whole life? See it now. See it now. See your whole life. You can do it. But you have to be able to know it's possible. You have to want to do it. You have to know it's possible. Maybe you have to study somebody who has done it, you see. But the idea is that and athletes and artists all know this, an athlete will get a coach, a tennis player. They get a coach who sits in the stands and looks at their pattern. And then when they get over the game, they say, well, you should do this and do that, you see. They look at the pattern. I was watching the Marvelous Mrs. Marshall or whatever, this little, won an Emmy, but it's a beautiful little episode on Amazon Prime. A Jewish woman, wants to be a comic, and she has a coach, and they go around and watch other comics to see their patterns. What's he doing? What's the pattern? What's the pattern, you see? So if you so people that mimic other people look at the pattern, and they just pick up a little bit of pattern, and they can copy the person. What's your pattern, you see? Nothing stands alone. If you know a squirrel, you don't know a squirrel because he has gray fur. You know a squirrel because of his pattern. They jump on trees, they dig up nuts, they do this and that. You don't know your pet because of the stand-alone image of the, you know the pet by the pattern. You don't know your partners, your people, your friends, your family by just them standing alone image. You know them by a pattern. You recognize their pattern, you see. So the pattern is kind of like our dance step. But the patterns are basically unconscious. You see, when we're dancing, I'm conscious of my movement now. I'm conscious of myself as I am right now, but I'm not conscious of my pattern. I'm just conscious of the now that is me now, my thing as it is right now, my me that is now, and I'm not conscious of the pattern of me. Other people may know my pattern. Oh, you always do that, you see. Oh, I knew you were going to do that. I know your pattern. What? Why did you call me that? And we get offended. We get angry if somebody points out our pattern because it's unconscious. I don't want to know my pattern. We don't want to know what our pattern is, you see, because I'm not a pattern. That means I'm determined. That means I'm unconscious. That means I'm a robot. That means I'm a computer program. That means I'm just a pattern. I'm not a pattern. I'm a free being. I'm autonomous. I'm a master of my life, you see. I'm not a pattern. But other people say, oh, yes, you are. You see. And we get defensive. So we have a defense shield. So our consciousness is really limited to the moment. I'm just conscious of this moment of what I'm doing. And I'm not conscious of my pattern, that I've done it before. Remember the movie Groundhog Day? That was a pattern. That was an awakening of the pattern that I'm doing this the same, that I've done this before. So whenever we get to that moment, that deja vu, where, I felt this way. This seems like I did divorce that person and I married this person, and damned if it isn't the same. It's just like the other person. I failed in Virginia. I moved to California, and the same pattern. The same argument with the boss, the same problems. What happened? Pattern. You're not conscious of your pattern, you see. So the pattern is unconscious, and we have a defense shield against it. If we have a problem and we get stuck, we go to a therapist and he tries to point out the pattern. Then we gradually work it out, you see. Well, Zen fit is like, bam, you see it. It's not like gradual, it's like, oh, I see. I suddenly see myself dancing as if I were on the edge of the dance floor, and I'm aware of myself, the pattern of what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Not, a lot of us make the mistake of trying to separate. So I'm just going to be the observer. Now I'm detached from life. And now I'm just observing. I'm superior because I'm observing you. I'm intellectually analyzing you. I'm superior, you see. That's the pattern. That's the pattern, you see. So seeing the dance while we're dancing is not a pattern. Because the two, and I'll try to end up with this, is that the pattern is separation. And the two-step is two steps. That means two, a duality. One step this, one step back. One step is conscious, the other step back is unconscious. So if we get in a pattern where we're self-defeating, if we get in a pattern where things don't work out right, if I get in a pattern where I have unintended consequences, if I get into a pattern, a life pattern where I have good intentions but things turn out badly, and I had such good, I'm innocent, I had good intentions, but other people say, yeah, you're guilty too. So I'm innocent, guilty. That's two-step. I'm good, I'm bad. I'm bright, I'm dim. I'm up, I'm down. I'm right, I'm wrong, you see. That's the two-step. There, you see. Whatever I do forward to be free, I also do one step backward to be imprisoned. Whatever I do forward to be free from the pattern, I step back as the pattern. Two-step, you see. Duality, division, conscious, unconscious, conscious, unconscious, you see. Back and forth we go through life. Unconscious, unconscious, conscious, unconscious. Two. What is the one that is two? The one is the pattern that holds the two steps, you see. The one is awareness of the two-step. So the one is seeing. When I see the two-step, I'm one. Seeing is one. There's no two seeings unless you have a walleye like I do. When I look to the left, I see my one eye doesn't focus. I see two of you. That's two. But there's only one. You see, you're not two. There's not two of you. But if I look to the left, I perceive two. One eye there, one eye there. And I just go with the dominant eye. Because if I go with both eyes at once, I don't know which one. I don't know, you miss the mark. You try to put your fingers together. You see. So there's only one reality. There's always one. You only see one reality. When you see one. You don't see two. But when you don't see the pattern, one eye is seeing I'm going forward and the other eye is not seeing, but it's going back, you see. But when both eyes open together, we have depth, we have dimension, and we see the pattern. I see. And when you see the pattern, guess what? You're not the pattern because you're seeing it. When you see the pattern as you do it, you are free from the pattern because you are not the pattern. You are seeing the pattern. You are knowing. You are the knowing. You are the seeing. And seeing is one. But what we see is two. Until the pattern and the dance, the two steps become, you see, here's it's hard to explain. So let me try and get out of this talk here. Two-step, I'm stepping forward, but unconsciously I'm stepping back. So get this. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm still. I'm not defined, you see. If I step forward, I'm defining myself. I'm good. But I'm stepping back. I'm bad. And other people see the badness in my goodness. I only see the goodness. Other people see, well, you're really wrong. You don't have the whole story. What you did that, look what you did over here, So this not seeing, you see, creates this two-step, and when we see, the seeing is one step. And this is why in Buddhism and in the meditation and everything, talk about stillness, not knowing, being unconditioned, unconditional love. Unconditional love, what does that mean? It means not defined, not conditioned. Conditioning means definition. So if I'm stepping forward and thinking I'm doing such a good job, oh, I did a good job there, that's defined. I'm defining myself as being good, you see. But at the same time, when I'm doing the two-step, I'm also defining myself as being not good because nature restores balance. Step forward, step back. What's balance? This is balance. You put the good and the bad together, and that is undefined. That is ambiguous. That is unconditioned, undefined. Be undefined. Be unconditioned. When you're unconditioned, when you're undefined, when you don't have to be good or bad, free or secure, up or down, in or out, when you don't have to do the two-step, you are undefined, and you are still, and you are free, because now you are just seeing. I see, and I'm free. Thanks for dropping in. Hope you have a Zen Fit today.